Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points of filmmaking. Oh, Dragon, tonight we're talking about Batman vs. Two-Face, which was just released a couple weeks ago. It's the final performance of Adam West, and I just want to cry, Dragon. This is not going to be an easy podcast to get through.
It's not, folks, and for the simple reason, this is the final goodbye, folks. And as much as we've been looking forward to this, at the same time, we've been dreading it.
This really got to me, Dragon. It really did. I mean, I'll just to get right into my first reactions, watching it for the first time, as I said, there was that looming kind of dark cloud of like, this is it, it's like saying goodbye to an old friend or something like that. It's like, this is the last we're ever going to hear is Adam West as Batman. And I'll admit, the first time I watched this, and we'll get into it when we get into the commentary, we'll break it all down. First time I watched this, I was a little bit like, I don't want to say I was disappointed, but like, stacked up to Return of the Caped Crusaders, I thought it didn't really live up to Caped Crusaders. It was still very entertaining. It was.
And remember, folks, like Caped Crusaders had the bases low, and that was a long-awaited return. So that's another thing I had over it in that regard.
So this didn't feel as theatrical as Caped Crusaders. It felt more like an episode. Having said that, on a rewatch, what I appreciated more about it is that kind of hypothetical, like, what if of it all, because this is essentially like a two-part 60s Batman episode with like a 10-minute prologue at the beginning. If you break down the runtime, that's essentially what it is.
Exactly.
But the thing I love about this is, it's got William Shatner, of course, and William Shatner, at least in the Harvey Dent side of his performance, he is very much channeling his 60s Captain Kirk persona, his charming ladies band persona. And the style of Dent is very much styled after 60s Shatner. So it's just a very fascinating kind of like what if, because of course Two-Face is one of the rare, one of the big elusive villains that never got translated to 60s Batman. I'm sure you can get a little bit more into that when you go into background, Dragon. But, so I just enjoy the film a lot just for the hypotheticalness of it all. Like, I came to appreciate the episodic structure a lot more on the rewatch. Having said that, Dragon, I told you about this. I don't remember if it was on air or not, but last time we talked about Gotham, I said, I genuinely had not, like, this was before I did the rewatch. This was on my first watch. I was like, when I got to the last 10 minutes, I had to stop. Like, I couldn't, it just felt like, you know what I mean? It felt like, oh, God, this is it. Like,
his return to the Batcave.
I've never had that experience with anything, Dragon. I've never had that experience with any piece of media and, a dead celebrity. I've just been like, it was so hard to rip off the Band-Aid, and especially like, even on my rewatch, like as it came up, I'm like, oh God, it's getting into footage I haven't seen yet. Oh man, this is it, So it was very much a painful goodbye. And like, it really, I don't know, folks, like the death of Adam West, it really has hit me on kind of a personal level I haven't experienced. For myself, I was really caught off guard by the death of Steve Irwin back in, I believe, 2006, the Crocodile Hunter. My family has a long history of like, animal conservation and everything, so that hit a personal chord with me. But not since 2006 with Steve Irwin has a celebrity death been I mean, Adam West happened like early on in 2017, right? Like,
well, not
first half, I want to say.
Well, I want to say definitely middle of the way through. I want to say it was like June. I believe it was June when it happened, but
okay,
it was June or May.
Right. So,
it was May or June, so like towards like the middle.
So what I'm saying is that we've had months to process it, and it's still like it just feels fresh. Like honestly, like, as entertaining as this movie is to a certain extent, it's like reopening the wound. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Red. What was your first reaction?
Yes, well, of course, I was as hyped as I could possibly be for this. I remember telling Tiki, and I've always probably brought it during the Return of the Batcave thing when we did the commentary on the Return to the Batcave. I just been rewatching that trailer. I love we only got like one trailer for this, and that's all we ever needed. Because of course people are going to check this out not only for the just for the finality of it, but also just because oh my god, we love Cape Crusader so much we got to watch the next one. And I'm so hyped for this for many reasons. One, of course, being essentially the long lost episode quality of it again, following Cape Crusaders and in this trailer is a great bit where we have this great build, and they really sold in the trailer kind of the finality with this kind of this grand brass like that dun, 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 it's like it really builds up like the minute 30 mark I think in the trailer. Basically it goes to this great bit I've been so hyped for in the movie, which we'll get to, but it's that bit where it's stay strong Harvey. That's the moment I was
right
on pins and needles for, and oh my god, I could not have been more hyped for this. Like the minute I was getting I got a couple movies when this guy got this and I got Spider-Man Homecoming. Is like, okay, Spider-Man Homecoming, I can get to. I've seen it. I'll get to it later. Batman versus Two-Face. Like I couldn't have gotten the wrapping off faster. Just like, give me the scissors. Anyway, so I watched it and I was entertained. I was impressed that it was not a rehash of Cape Crusader, because that was the thing after Cape Crusaders. I know there were a few gags we had not seen. There are a few references from the show. And just going into this, I was wondering, okay, I wonder how we're going to kind of reinvent the wheel on this in a way. And I liked it as Tiki echoed, and as I would absolutely agree with. Cape Crusaders is that's a Batman movie. That's basically the '66 movie getting a sequel almost. And this is the long lost episode of the TV series, which is what Two-Face has always been intended to be. And with that said, I guess I'll get into some background.
Go ahead.
Folks, I'm going to give you like a brief history lesson on Two-Face and '60s Batman. So essentially, of course, during the run of the Batman '66, Two-Face was considered. Two-Face and the Scarecrow were villains that were considered to appear on the show. They were considered to appear mainly in the third season when they were stretching for ideas, of like when they were kind of like we're going back to the drawing board on a couple things we kind of passed on before. So we were really close to getting Two-Face and Scarecrow towards the end of the show when we were introducing Batgirl and they couldn't do kind of the things they had done in the previous two seasons. Essentially, here's how it went. Here are the main points to hit. So Harlan Ellison, a comics writer, Harlan Ellison, he wrote a script for the episode. They're going to do the episode, and you got to remember, Tiki.
He actually wrote some of the best Star Trek episodes too, ironically.
Yes. And Harlan Ellison, essentially, the thing you got to remember, Tiki, and this is the thing a lot of people forget about Two-Face, is that, of course, Frank Miller really wrote the book on Two-Face the way we see him now. Along with, with Jeff Loeb as well. Jeff Loeb hugely with Long Halloween, but we get the two defining kind of Bruce's old friends at Harvey Dent stories with Year One and Dark Knight Returns, the whole reconstructive face surgeries. Those two elements are from Frank Miller, and then the origin is reevaluated with Long Halloween. But before that, Two-Face was the origin was exactly the same. He was in the courtroom and he was splashed with acid in the face in the 40s. So the 40s was you could get away with that in the 40s. It was a kind of a dark kind of crime noir origin, but Two-Face he was used very sparingly, and he really disappeared in the 50s because the whole comics code thing, the whole Wortham thing. So that's why Two-Face went underground for the very reason. The
gruesome imagery of him.
Yes, the gruesome imagery and kind of the origin. I mean, there have been some reinvention, like some really soft reinventions of Two-Face. They tried doing the origin over again. They tried softening it. Like there was this. Two-Face's original name actually was a fun fact. In the first appearance of him, I think his name is Harvey Kent, and they had to change it because it sounded like Clark Kent.
God.
Yes, I remember reading that comic too, and they had like a thing where they tried there's an actor who basically had the Two-Face out of revenge. It's ridiculous, Steve, and they could have done this too if they really wanted to. They were shooting a biopic on Two-Face. I'm not making this up. In the comics, they were shooting a biopic, so they had an actor. They had an actor playing Two-Face, and he suffered an onset injury that scarred half of his face.
Oh man!
The light exploded in his face, and that's why half of him was deformed. So basically, Two-Face had kind of a weird history in the early comics when he was trying to be reinvented and stuff. So Two-Face was a little fluid, so you could change things, especially bringing Two-Face to the '60s show, because again they were afraid that he was going to horrify audiences and kind of fight against the tone of the show. So Harlan Ellison, he wrote a script. He kind of took some liberties, which again were not out of the ordinary with Two-Face, where he was a reporter instead of a DA. They used the light disfiguring notion too, because instead of like a set light, it was like some other sort of light fixture. And again, as I mentioned, again, all before Long Halloween, which now we firmly went back to the '40s origin. We added the whole kind of the Miller friendship level to it to make it even more interesting there. But William Shatner was in talks. William Shatner, and I want to say it's speculated Clint Eastwood was also in talks to play Two-Face, but William Shatner was the main guy for the novelty of the Star Trek of it all. That was the big appeal. But the reason this didn't happen. Again, aside from just the being gun shy about the horrifying looking foe, was that Harlan Ellison, he got into disputes with the writers. Like I forget if he wanted an obscene amount of money, but point is he just kind of bickered with them, and just they hated each other, so they kind of like, no, we're not doing the Two-Face episode. It was just getting.
I mean, Ellison, like I've done research into the guy. Like he's like a really high profile sci-fi guy.
You also got to remember, sometimes Star Trek writers have issues, and they're justified. But I'm just saying that is kind of a thing you can track with a lot of Star Trek writers. They've had battles with studio heads and stuff, so that might be it. I'm just speculating.
I mean, it makes sense because a lot of the Star Trek stuff is very high concept, very out of the studio coloring book lines, if you will.
So now you're probably wondering, how does this get us to Batman versus Two-Face? Very simple. So there was a comic done by the great, and again, another departed soul this year, Len Wein, of course, the creator of Wolverine and Swamp Thing. Len Wein wrote a comic that adapted, basically was a variation on that Harlan Ellison script, where he did it was marketed as the long lost episode of the '60s. And this was like fairly recent. It wasn't like back in the day. It's like fairly recent, maybe 2014, I think. Okay. So it was basically kind of adapted. It's not what this is, but they did take inspiration from that. So basically, that was just kind of Len Wein's take on like what Two-Face adapted in the '60s style would be like, and then basically for this. Of course, the popularity of Cape Crusaders, like what's the next idea? They go to, okay, let's do the long lost episode. And of course, all of this in part that I've met Jeff Parker. Jeff Parker, of course, was the minute DC regained the '66 comics, the '66 rights to the show, to release it on video and everything. There was like a huge resurgence in '60s Batman, and Jeff Parker did a comic series which really, notably, it adapted the foes that we had not seen we might have seen on future seasons of the '60s Batman show, like Harley Quinn and Killer Croc and Bane and Clayface, '60s versions of all of these guys. And notably, Two-Face was still missing. So Jeff Parker kind of started the resurgence on that.
Does that book have like collected volumes?
Yes, and it's completed, so you can read up on it. And right now,
look into that. I really want to look into that.
Now, Tiki, here's the cool thing Jeff Parker's doing now. I met the guy, really nice, and he'll talk with you as long as you're going to talk to him about the '60s stuff. He's a really nice guy. Right now, he's doing the crossovers, like Batman '66 meets Wonder Woman '77 with Mark Andrenko, the Wonder Woman aficionado.
Nice.
So Jeff Parker, again, he's the go-to guy he's keeping '60s Batman alive, and there are other stories on the horizon. So it's still around, but they have a completed run of like what all those what-if villains would have been. So of course, we get Cape Crusader, we get a sequel of this lost episode, which essentially is an adaptation of that Len Wein story with an original kind of spin on it. So it basically took that comic and basically did the '66 on, and there's a lot of animated series influence in this, and I'll point out along the way, they really wanted to kind of strive for a bit of kind of how can we make this different than the previous one? Okay, it's a TV series, but also let's work in some other flavors of Batman in there. Of course, a lot of animated series in this. So
I would say the tone of this is definitely darker than Return of the Cape Crusaders.
And again, that's very much that's the animated series influence. I mean, they've done this. They've said this in interviews. That's where I'm really pulling that from. And it makes sense because think about it, the animated series kind of wrote the book on how to. Because if I'm right, and I'm pretty sure I am on this, the animated series episode of Two-Face came out before Long Halloween. I don't know how much that informed it, but you've got to imagine it had a significant impact because you have what Miller did with Two-Face, and of course just that fantastic episode of like the psychological implications of Two-Face were added at that moment. So you get all great Two-Face stuff. So it's no wonder if they're going to do like a definitive version of like another like a new version of Two-Face. How can you reinvent Two-Face? They go with the tube gimmick. How can you make it interesting? How can you do it over? We get William Shatner, and we pull from the best, and we do something original with it. And that's essentially how we get Batman versus Two-Face, of course, the last work of the great Adam West, which thankfully his lines were recorded before his passing, so we could enjoy his last work, and he would be able to play the character one last time.
Of course, of course. All right, so folks, we're going to do our level best to record this as, just a commentary that you can just listen to without having to watch the movie, but it might serve you to watch the movie along with us if you have a copy. So if you're going to do that, go ahead and go to timestamp 000, get it all queued up, and I'll count up to 3 and say go, and when we say go, we'll all press play together, all right? Sound good, Dragon?
Yeah!
All right, let's do it, folks. Batman versus Two-Face in 1, 2, 3, go!
All right.
So like I said, the structure of this movie, it's basically 2 episodes, but it starts out with this kind of 10-minute prologue.
Yeah, it's a really solid prologue, and right from the get-go, Tiki, they had me here because I know they had this on with the whole that's not the Ho Daddy sequence in Cape Crusaders, but Desmond Dumas, the reporter here, this is actually a wonderful homage to Bill Dozier. And I love Bill Dozier, and Bill Dozier was the narrator, and we went through this in the Return of the Batcave thing, but. Point is, we have a character that was Desmond Doomsday, and here it's Desmond Dumas, and he is modeled after and, of course, sounding identical to Bill Dozier. So, again, that right off the bat, Tiki, that's a huge homage to the TV series, which kind of sets the tone for the whole thing.
Yeah, it sets the tone for, okay, this isn't going to so much be a movie. It's going to be very much an homage to everything about the show, stylistically, structurally.
Yeah, they said that, again, it's kind of an animated series mix, but it's also mixed with mainly the first season of 66, which is arguably the best season of the 66 show. So really kind of going for the most notable kind of stuff from the works. We have there the Romeo and Juliet sequence between Batman and Catwoman.
Don't worry, Catwoman. You'll be 3 after 36 more reformative months.
I just love that Batman carries around this book of Elizabeth Browning's poetry on hand all the time.
Well, of course, you never know when you need to set the mood.
By the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to say it here early on. I have a theory here. This, honestly, as great as this is, and again, continuity-wise, I would argue this probably could have come before Cape Crusaders.
Come before Cape Crusaders?
Yeah, because think of you have some notes of finality with Cape Crusaders. Well, again, Catwoman is quote unquote killed off in that movie.
I don't really. Yeah, that's true. You're right.
And you do have again, and I'm saying again, this is great. Now I'm not taking anything away from this movie. I'm just saying, with the whole Two-Face, we don't see Two-Face in the other movie, so you could, again, being an episode, it's an episodic thing. You could place it before that, and with that said, Cape Crusaders has kind of an ending that kind of suggests the end to it could have been an ending for 60s Batman in meat as a whole. So it's kind of I think it's kind of a neat quality of it personally. You could interchange them and still come away with something.
So, Dragon, refresh my memory. Hugo Strange, was he originally in 60s Batman?
In 60s Batman, heck no.
I did not think so.
This is the Jeff Parker of all I'm talking about here.
I like how this guy is a stereotypical Russian guy or German.
Yeah,
I think.
German, more appropriate. Yes.
Yeah. It fits very much with the time period. You know what I mean? The sense of humor and whatnot.
Yeah, and here's the amazing thing, Tiki. I gotta commend this movie on for so many levels, and I think the writing is so smart, and it's different from Crusaders. Is that we are. Basically, Two-Face's story in this is we take 2 historic Hugo Strange stories and we meld them with Two-Face. And I thought that was a brilliant move because, Hugo Strange, notably, as we know him also, he makes monsters and he's obsessed with Bruce Wayne. The whole uncovering Bruce Wayne's identity story and making Monster Men. And we have both of those stories done through Two-Face, but Hugo Strange is responsible for it. So that's why Hugo Strange was chosen for this. And it's a brilliant move.
Yeah, it was a good choice. You know, it's not so much a good choice. You know, it didn't sit so well with me. I mean, it's not a
Was it?
huge
Don't tell me it was the
issue.
Harley Quinn. It was the Harley Quinn thing.
I am not a big fan of Harley. Just because Harley Quinn is very much rooted in the '90s. Like any Bat fan who knows their salt knows that Harley Quinn came out of the '90s. So I don't know. I'm glad that she's not in the costume. I'm glad that it's Harleen Quinzel. You know, so it is just a nice kind of like reference. But I don't know. To me, it was just a little bit like, hey, Harley Quinn, you all love her, right? Yeah, there she is. Go ahead.
To be fair, now you got to remember, Harley Quinn is also kind of inspired by '60s Batman hench girls. So that's in many respects that's why she would kind of be put in here. I think she's a little underutilized here because in the comics they do this neat thing where we do Harley Quinn. But
maybe I wouldn't mind it so much if she had a little bit more to do. But to me, it just feels like. You know, I mean, the Joker literally winks at her. It's literally a wink at the audience.
Because again, you can imagine, you'd think that, okay, she's going to sabotage this intentionally per the Joker's plan, but no.
Exactly.
Again, it might be kind of a missed opportunity. It's, again, the only thing I can really take away against the movie, it's a really small gripe. You know, we didn't utilize Harley Quinn. Again, in the comics, they did something kind of neat with her where they did like a kind of a '60s roller kind of hench girl, like a '60s version of Harley Quinn. Cool. So you know, it's but again, let's I don't want to split hairs. You know, yeah, it's what it is, and it's a cool design, little neat way, a little cameo for Harley Quinn. So, by the way, we should talk about this prologue is so impressive because we do the origin of Two-Face and basically get all the Two-Face stories we had not gotten to establish a status quo with what has happened with the Two-Face in the '60s continuity that we had not seen. So we establish kind of the history here, and of course the historic origin. I love how this is done. It's over the top. It's kind of sci-fi with the vat of evil essence. I love this though, and I love the immediacy where, of course, we have this great reveal shot, and I love how we do Batman, the white of Batman's eyes and shadow, which is amazing. And again, we're doing new stuff here.
Very much animated series.
Oh yeah, and also here's a detail I love so much. I love that Batman. We explain why it's half so well. Where Batman covers him with half the cape because he just missed him by that much.
Yeah, right.
That's great, and also it's already passed. But again, we're gonna have opportunities to talk about this as it goes on. But I love the sense of friendship we establish. We establish in that, like, honestly, within 2 minutes, if you really want to clock it, within 2 minutes. Batman has met Harvey Dent for the first time, and we established, okay, Harvey and Bruce know each other. So we established kind of both sides of the Batman-Harvey Dent of it all there. And right now, I'm sold on Harvey Dent within 2 minutes. He's a likable guy sticking up for Batman. It's Hugo Strange. Very classic to character is trying to supplant Batman, saying, my machine's going to make you guys obsolete. And that's Hugo Strange, always trying to become Batman. Mm-hmm. So we're off to the races within 3 minutes. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is definitely uses, much like Cape Crusaders, it uses its time very economically, for sure.
And here with all the kind of
one of the things I really like about the movie, like one of the main kind of thorough lines of it, first of all, honestly, as much as we love Adam West, I think Burt Ward steals the show both times.
Burt Ward, his performance is so great. He gets more range in this one. It's really impressive. Yes. Also, again, this opening montage we're talking over, but this opening montage is fantastic. And again, like remember the montage in Cape Crusaders was a whole bunch of Batman covers come to life, and amazingly, and what we're doing here is we're doing kind of all the, not every single one, but we're doing like cool death traps of Two-Face. Again, building a history there. We have like being split down the middle. Got like all sorts of kind of famous death traps going on there.
All right, so coming up is the moment in Shatner's performance that I was completely sold when he looks in the mirror and he's like, my face, at last, a face staring back at me that I can recognize. Or I'm kind of butchering it, you know what I mean? But just Shatner's delivery on it, like the whole, it's very much, like I said, it's very much got that sort of jokey, like the pause and whatnot. It's like, okay, Shatner is definitely playing it up here.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the Buzzsaw Death Trip. That was the one I was trying to think of. That Buzzsaw Death Trip. I've read that in a Batman comic. I'm so glad to see that come to life. Them being split, threats being split down the middle of the thing. But yes, this scene here with Harvey Dent being basically the idea he's going through surgery and they fixed him, which is it's a classic Two-Face story. And importantly, again, a huge Dark. I'm amazed by how much Dark Knight Returns we worked in here. Again, like the plot is kind of kicked off with the Dark Knight Returns. Like Harvey's healed. Is he still good?
So basically, I want to say about a year has passed in between the cold open and now.
Well, it says 6 months. Well, yeah, post that montage. You're right, T. I think a year is appropriate.
Yeah, so that's interesting, the structure of it. We get kind of, we build a history there.
We do jump a couple times in this movie, and again, it doesn't feel like a Fantastic Four, like 1 year later.
Oh, God, no. Oh, no, not at all. Oh, boy.
I cannot describe the excitement I felt. I don't know if you felt the same with King Tut.
I mean, I wasn't stoked out of my mind, but I think it is a very, very good choice to use him as prominently as they did.
King Tut's always been
because I feel like out of the side villains in Cape Crusaders, I felt like he got a lot of a lot of standalone quick moments that really added up.
Yeah, I mean, here he's a boatload of fun. He captures the Victor Bueno of it all. It's it's a lot of fun. I believe Wally Winger did King Tut. I believe.
Okay.
So a lot of them did double duty on this. So I want to say if it wasn't Wally Winger, it was Jeff Berg. And I'm pretty sure it's Wally Winger. I'm 90% certain it's Wally Winger. But I mean, yeah, King Tut. Here's the thing: he was just done so faithfully, and the way Bueno played him, and just basically all the even the subtle things like the Egyptian references and the fact that with a bonk on the head, they captured every single bit. The ridiculous thing you could do with King, that he literally changes personality if you bonk him on the head. Oh, God. And folks, that's why we have Maxi Zeus today, because of King Tut. You're gonna want to remember that, Tika. That's why we have Maxi Zeus.
All right. What do you think of Aunt Harriet in this movie? I honestly, again, it's kind of a nitpick. I don't think she was utilized as well as she was in Cape Crusaders.
You're right about that, Teak. And honestly, Aunt Harriet fuels my theory about why, Cape Crusaders actually ties up a lot of loose ends. And it's in the Aunt Harriet of all, because right now she's still saying fishing trips, and she's either just accepted it, or again, you have it either way.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it feels very kind of okay, what are we doing with this in terms of the continuity exactly?
Yeah, she's in here more for comic relief than she is just for the kind of the holding a mirror up to what Bruce and Dick are up to.
Honestly, I don't really think comic relief even works with her for the most part.
The problem is with that is that she rehashes the same thing. I'm getting the vapors over Harvey Dent. She just keeps recycling. That's
what I'm saying, man. It's just yeah, I get it. To me, that's single-handedly probably the worst element of the movie for me.
And again, worse just comparatively. Let's not be harsh. It's just it's just kind of it's worked in there. It's not terrible.
It's a little sloppy for me. It's a little sloppy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sloppy over terrible. Yeah, sure.
Chief O'Hara was a standout for me here.
Yeah, I mean, O'Hara was still funny in the other one too. But the great Thomas Lane, who also plays the Warden, by the way. Thomas Lane, the great actor, is also on Lethal Weapon now. He's playing the Joe Pesci role in Lethal Weapon. He is Leo Getz, and he's hilarious. Yes, and of course, Tika, I love this, and this is the advent we have of the animated movies. Now we can actually do things at night, where 60s Batman rarely, if ever, was at night. Usually, if it's at night, it's inside a building, but rarely are you outside. Especially with the bat scene, because I think they use the bat scene very sparingly. If anything, I think they used it in the first episode, and that was was roughly because then they just went with the phone. But it's cool. We have kind of a Gordon Batman meeting scene on a roof finally.
Yep.
Yep. Of course,
with O'Hara, honestly, he has a moment in the third act that I think kind of elevates him from Cape Crusaders, even though he wasn't, he was good in Cape Crusaders.
Yeah, because the idea is imagine you're the most incompetent, stereotypical Bullock ever. That's essentially what O'Hara is.
Right.
I loved it. He has a hilarious moment with Gordon in this movie. I'll point out Gordon doesn't really do much. He has two moments in this movie that really stick out to me. One is a hilarious one. The other one's a really kind of moves me a little towards the end. But we'll get there.
Gordon has kind of had a chain of not doing much in Batman movies recently.
Yeah.
I hope that
Well, yeah.
changes with Justice League.
Well, of course, I would hope so too. And again, I love the double-decker bus usage here, and I love the. We should highlight now, I guess. I love the how Two-Face, and this is the idea we kind of put forward with the whole evil extractor thing. This is the reason I'm all for the evil extractor. I don't know if anyone's on the fence about that. Like, why don't we use the acid? Because the acid's morbid. That's why we didn't use the acid. But the evil extractor, I love the idea that we literally did this. We took all the evil, all the over the top evil from like notable Batman, almost all the main guys, and we put it into a giant vat. And basically, we create the most virulent, we take the scariest elements of all these guys, like the scary implications of these campy villains, and we put it into an actually threatening, hyper intelligent folk. Because Two-Face actually has most of his stuff together. He's plotting. I love the double agendas with each of his crimes. He's using these villains to cover his tracks. I love how this film's plotted. I really do.
Yeah, I hear you.
Of course, I love Alfred sticking up for Aunt Harriet, though. We'll say that. It's a cool moment. Like, see here, you ruffian. Like, yeah, Alfred, yeah. Yeah, this got some cool. We had some cool action, really neat set pieces throughout this film. Yeah, we play with the set pieces more than we did with Cape Crusaders. I like the thing, but don't bear in mind we did go in space with Cape Crusaders. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I will say, like the space scene in Cape Crusaders is like the one high point that I don't think got topped in this movie. But you're right. I think in terms of variety, there is more of it. Right. Because with Cape Crusaders, it was basically just variations on like the. Like the classic like verb bubbles, like what we're seeing.
Yeah, the onomatopoeic, the onomatopoeia bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, I love that in the climax we'd get rid of the bubbles because it's an intense.
Yes. I was gonna wait till we get to that, but I very much noticed that stylistically.
We'll point that out later again because it's too good to pass up. But also, I love we don't rehash. We have new bat gadgets, and it's really entertaining to me. We have the bat net. That's cool.
Right.
Oh man, I love the bat net. And we upgrade one of my favorite gadgets ever. Later on, we upgrade it. It's awesome.
And once again, I think in terms of the animation in this movie, it's super impressive. I mean, it's flowing. The colors are great. It's very much like theatrical film quality for me.
So again, folks, the tragedy of this is done so well, and it's very likely the last one. And that's the tragedy. That's one of the tragedies of this beautiful work we're talking about here today. And of course, we have you've made asp of yourselves.
So, Dragon, I hate to even bring this up, all right? But if they were to get someone...
Well, I know who they'd get.
What?
There's only one way I know exactly you're going to bring up, Tiki. If
they were basically to Corey, Burt, and Adam West. Tiki,
there's only one man I would accept that from. Only one. Okay. Ralph Garman is the only choice. That's the only way I would be. So because he literally is like he was really close to Adam West. He was his friend. He mentored Ralph Garman, in a major way. That's the end. I'm not saying it would be easy. Ralph Garman, he does an impression of Adam West, and it is an amazing impression. The thing is, I believe imperatively that Ralph. I believe infinitely in Ralph Garman's abilities that with the importance of this role, if he were to take it on, he would refine it. He would actually act as, for sure. He would act. He would be the only man I would accept. Jeff Bennett, notably, is the only actor who's really done who's voice acted as he took over as Adam West in the Fairly Odd Parents for an episode. I don't know if they're going to keep going with that or not, but that's the only man I accepted from be Ralph Garman.
I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even be bringing up the idea if not for the fact that, I want more Burt Ward Robin. I just think Burt Ward is just impeccable as Robin. I want more of that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I don't think we're being too morbid with that. I think it's an actual. We know there had to have been some talks about that, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think
there's a possibility that they could do a Burt Ward Robin Nightwing movie.
Well, again, that Wonder Woman 77 comic, we go in the future and we have Nightwing. So
okay. I think that might be a good way to work around the Adam West issue. Just do a Burt Ward movie.
Yeah, but you know what else? I mean, again, let's just do a Wonder Woman 77 movie as well while we're at it.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be down for that. All right, we're kind of talking
right.
over this
Yes.
cut scene.
Right, but yes, and again, the whole bunk on the head we've done. And we also had a great death trap, by the way. We talked over. Basically, you have like there's cement filling the embalming jars, and they use the bat jets to get out, which is cool. And again, very much pulled from King Tide. They've been in those embalming jars before, and it's just it's cool to see them. See him back, and again, here's that ulterior, like the double motive. And again, I love it. The thing with Two-Face as a character is that sometimes you have to switch up the two. Like sometimes, like subtle, like okay, two is a theme of the crime, or it's coins, or it's or it's duality, or it's just randomness. So we always have to strike it's a hard balance to strike with Two-Face before he gets stale. And here, I think they did in a refreshing way.
Right. Really quick, kind of speaking to like the hypotheticalness of it all. I love the Twin 1 and Twin 2, and it totally feels like something I could just visualize coming out of the show.
Oh, sure, yes. And also, I want to give props right now to this sequence and like how we're handling Harvey Dent with this. And this is where the movie really kicks off for me. I was already sold, but this is where the movie like gets super intriguing for me.
I mean, yeah, you are right. Like, in terms of the plot, like, I think Cape Crusaders overall has a more theatrical tone to it, but...
Yeah.
But this is a great sort of like political intrigue kind of movie.
I'm going to say this: I haven't had as good a time with a mystery, with a Batman mystery since Phantasm. With this, I'm going to be honest.
Oh man, that's high praise.
I'm not saying I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying.
No, of course. We all know that Phantasm is like the gold standard when it comes to anything Batman. But
because what they did so beautifully here is we have like this great mystery where the answer is again, it's obvious, but at the same time it's not obvious, and that's what's so they sell you on the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And they sell you on it being a mystery, even though the answer is quite literally in front of your face. But and you know it, but at the same time you don't. And they pulled some great, and the animated series has kind of done that with a few stories with duality and with characters with multiple personalities, and they've pulled it off here. And again, I want to give props to Rick Moranis for how he's directed these misleads so well. Like we have Harvey Dent, he's introducing, flipping his coin, and you got to remember in this movie, you don't know at this point, on the rewatch especially. Does Harvey know that he's Bruce Wayne at this point?
Right.
Like, how complicit is Harvey Dent? Because we know they find out, and Two-Face is threatening to find out, but does he know? Or at least does one of them know? Like, do either of them know at this point or not?
It's almost kind of like a Mr. Robot type thing with the duality.
Well, yeah, sure. And again, we pull some. I'll get to those later. But here's the courtroom scene. I love this, even though we didn't do like the acid kind of origin where Batman was in the courtroom during that. We have an homage to it here with Batman in the courtroom.
And I just love the visual of Batman and Robin in full costume in a courtroom, and they look super serious.
Looks a lot better than it did in Batman Forever.
Oh yeah.
And again, we get to see kind of how good and virulent Dent is at his job here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like we're building some. Again, while we like Harvey Dent, we're also we know that Harvey Dent does have villainous past, and the same thing. You got to wonder: has he fallen off the wagon or not? Does he have an ulterior motive? And again, it's such a thrilling mystery. Even though Tiki on paper, this thing should never work, but it's so well executed.
Yeah.
And of course, I really like how we integrated Lee Merriweather. It wasn't like it was like she had a great cameo in the previous, in Cape Crusaders, the whole the triple Catwoman thing. How we had all three Catwoman for a brief second, and that was a clever way of working here. But here we have like a neat little it's a building gag where I smelled this coming, but it's like, she looks so familiar. It looks like, the Miss Kitka disguise from the 60s Batman movie. Right. I just I wonder if they're going there or not. And then basically as it happened, I realized, oh, absolutely. How could I have doubted it? And you know what? Again, Tegan, we always have to applaud these movies when they do this. How they kind of reinvent and they examine Batman after all these years and kind of apply where we've gone with Batman and kind of reinvent the '60s wheel of it all here, where the '60s show never had Arkham Asylum, and we kind of address that here with the subject matter that hey, these guys need help, but they're going to prison for their crimes. Whether they complicitly committed it or not, we're kind of saying. We need an Arkham, but we don't have one.
And the interesting thing about that, Dragon, is it kind of fits in with the social commentary of the 60s, you know what I mean? Where mental health and mental illness was a very stigmatic thing back in the day. So
yeah, you gotta remember,
naturally, I think it goes without saying that the 60s like wouldn't address something like that.
Yes, you're right. And also, the practical reason, of course, is Arkham was created 4 years later. That's why we don't have Arkham in the 60s.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, but I think you're absolutely right, though. I think that'd be like a reason that retroactively we still wouldn't have that, and they're kind of looking into that. So I don't think you're off the money with that. Yeah, and of course, again, this is great between Burt Ward and William Shatner here. I love how we established.
Oh God, those two just kill it.
I love the layer of kind of jealousy we have here, and again, I love we also have kind of the Shatnerian diss in a way. Where basically Kirk would he would snub people. He'd be kind of be kind of glum, and he'd kind of be showboaty with people. Where we have that where he's talking down to Dick Grayson, and again, you have to wonder how much of that is just kind of Dent working with Two-Face versus just kind of Dent just kind of unintentionally snubbing Dick Grayson.
Right.
And again, it's like we have some great layered performances in here.
Yeah, I mean, just I really think Shatner went above and beyond.
Yeah,
because like as I said, like Harvey Dent is very much him going back to his Star Trek roots of like the charming ladies' man. Yeah. But the Two-Face side of him is like he genuinely gives a disquieting and creepy performance, I think.
Two things I want to say. One, also, I love that it feels so much like Lorenzo Semple Jr., or one of the original writers, wrote this, because we still have these ridiculous lines of dialogue that fit the absurdist quality. Where, one, again, we're very on the nose about all the we're building the two theme and like the fraternal twins, like the fraternal twins charity, and then. Adam West, the wonderful Adam West, with the straightest delivery ever. He gives the most implicit, oh yes, I don't envy the burden that the less attractive fraternal twin feels. He says the most ridiculous line of dialogue. I don't know what it was for Bane, but just kind of passed. But it's the whole. It's just.
The thing with that, with this movie, I don't think there's anything in this movie that's as overt as the whole crossing at crosswalks thing.
Yeah,
from Cape Crusaders.
We have one. No, we do have one. We have one.
No, but hear me out. I feel like they sprinkle in more PSA type moments. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they might not be as overt, but like, there's so many of them, though.
You're right. You got it. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a great one. Now I also love the bookworm.
Oh, speaking of PSA type moments, isn't this the shushing in the library thing?
Well, we have that gag, but it's. Well, I think.
Where's that coming up?
I think you're thinking more of the glasses thing, but they are shushed about here by the bookworm's hench girl. And by the way, the bookworm.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like the shush is like. It's a little bit of like, that's right, Robin. We're in a public place of education and we should lower our voice. I don't know.
Oh, well, no, I'm sorry, T. You're right. But basically, they quiet their voice a little. That's what it is. They kind of speak. Yeah. They speak quietly after that. So you're right about that.
Like, I like how they respect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, with the bookworm. So I love Roddy McDowall played the bookworm, and bookworm's always had like a kind of a neat design to me. It's kind of like it's a simple kind of like it's like a B or C list villain for Batman. In the grand scheme, like kind of like a C list villain. And yeah, unfortunately, I wish the actor sounded more like Roddy McDowall. Unfortunately, we lost Roddy McDowall. And interestingly, Roddy McDowall, he was the Mad Hatter on the animated series, and he did such a wonderful job on there. I was like a great kind of cool kind of inherency. They had there. So regardless, I love how this sequence is handled and structured. It's like kind of like one and done villains. Kind of like what we're really loving in the Spider-Man movies now. Where we have like these one and done villains. Going on now, we have this great kind of callback to '89 with the whole "you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?" Which I love so much. These whole glasses, but just they have the decorum to make sure they remove their glasses so they don't get hurt too bad.
Right.
It's classy and it's great. We have some book gags here, like don't hit anyone with the priceless books. Because Batman is so socially conscious. And we have a rack of comics. That's also kind of neat.
Oh yeah.
Keep cutting to these shushes with these.
Oh, I love this when Batman just very politely puts the book down.
So
That's
well
one of my
timed.
favorite beats.
And again, like the shadows of the two henchmen, again, Two-Face's, ulterior motives, ulterior purposes in action. Wrap up these four-eyed felons. O'Hara has no way of knowing they have glasses because they all took them off, but he knows they're four-eyed felons.
Right.
Oh, and this is great. This feels like a Twilight Zone reference to me. This was, since the bookworm can't see, you'll have to read him as right. Like,
well, I mean, almost. Of course, Shatner was, a notable Twilight Zone guest star, so that would very much fit.
It would. It feels like, but there was time.
Right.
I mean, I imagine they contemplated that way. So, nah, it's too much. We got to scale it back a little.
I mean, that is one of the most parodied Twilight Zone episodes outside of the Shatner, like, gremlin on the wing of the plane thing.
Yeah. And the pig people. People love the pig people episode. And of course, I love this. I love that our guys are they're picking up, okay, the ulterior motives, the theme of duality. They're putting the piece together. Our crime fighters are, top of their game here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm so thrilled. We took the most clever and threatening of Batman's villains, and we've kind of made that into Two-Face. And that's just such a clever, ridiculous idea.
Like I said, it's like they do a good job of establishing why he's a cut above the rest of the antagonists. Especially because of the ridiculous, over the top battle. The thing I love about the evil concoction thing is that not only is it a clever way to establish why Two-Face is the way he is, but again, it's also like it fits very much in line with the 60s censorship stuff.
Yeah. And again, like why is he a cut above the rest? Well, he's manipulating other villains. I mean, that's one thing that the other villains never did. They were like willing to turn on each other, but they never really were using the other to their own advantage, which is truly evil.
Peters did illustrate quite well the fact that the villains were all sort of like in the same sort of league of just like buffoonery, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think about? I like the half obscuring shadow. What do you think about it?
No, I think it works very well. Yeah.
And again, it makes you. I love that it keeps you guessing, makes you wonder. Of course, it sounds like Shatner doing the Two-Face voice, but at the same time, again, on the side, again, it's obviously it's similar to Shatner, and that's the purpose. It's similar to the Harvey Dent look, but it's obscured, and we have a few great shots here and there of like with Hugo Strange later on, where you kind of zoom in on the chin. It's like partially like, is it Dent? Is it not Dent? You're looking.
Yeah, I hear you.
And again, it's literally right under our nose, but you're sold on it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I love this. This is the charm of Two-Face, I think, when done right. And Brave and the Bold did a gag like this. The henchmen, of course, they question the action. Why can't we just kill Batman now? But Two-Face, he abides by the coin.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta wonder when Two-Face kind of warns Batman here, you gotta wonder, is that Dent warning Bruce? Basically, like don't go after me, don't get involved here through through Two-Face psychologically, not just like through the whole splitting the idea there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a subtle thing, maybe. Also, I love that they're trapped they're outnumbered with the giant too. It's
yes.
Of course, Gotham, a lot of abandoned signs, and we go to an abandoned sign factory here, and we have like some really creative casinos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, one of the things I love about Two-Face's design is that, again, it fits very much stylistically with how the 60s would have portrayed it. Like, it's very much kind of like the Lou Ferrigno, like half of his face is just painted green. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Now, this scene feels very much like that scene in Year One where Batman's hiding behind Dent's desk, and Gordon's questioning him. Basically, that one scene where we establish, okay, Harvey Dent is working with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of feels like kind of a little light up, because he's wearing the brown suit and everything. Feels like a light homage to that. But
so I really like the contrast between the two characters here with, of course, Batman is all very stoic and defensive, and Robin is just very quick to just throw the blade right at him.
I love that Batman and Robin are at odds in this movie. And it doesn't feel forced at all. It feels, and
And it
Robin's just
doesn't
kind of
feel ridiculous and goofy like evil Batman from Cape Crusaders did.
and usually we pull reversal in this situation in the comics, all the time where Batman's too serious and Robin has to reel him in.
Right.
Or, what I mean, or basically it's like, Robin has faith in something in Batman, and he's not so much. He's the skeptic, he's the cynic, and here it's like complete opposite. It's such a fun reverse. I mean, I love that Batman kind of spelled it out for us that, hey, Dent does have enemies, put a lot of people away. Someone could be framing him, and what I thought it was going for, it completely surprised me, by the way. What I thought they were going for was he was wearing, whoever it was impersonating him, or Dent himself. The way we got around the surgery is that he had makeup on. I thought he was just going to put makeup on, but no. It's, of course, this is now. I will say this though. Unfortunately, I was so expecting this in this movie. We have a window.
Yeah, I know. I was like, when I first watched it, I was like, wait, what? They didn't do it?
That was the one thing we didn't have in Cape Crusaders, really. And I was thinking, okay, they're going to save for the sequel, so they don't run out of material and write the sequel. And, I mean, a part of me wonders if they were planning on doing that for they stretch it out for a third one, but again, so. But I do love we get to see him climb down, though. We never see him climb down. Rarely do we see him climb down. It's kind of neat to see that.
Sure.
Okay, now this scene right here, I was really excited about this in the trailer. I'm so glad to see it here, where we push in on Dent talking in the phone. Of course, we obscure the mouth because the idea is it's either in his head or he's putting on a voice. It's like it's an homage to I'm pretty sure to kind of device things we've done in Batman the Animated Series with the ventriloquist episode, where we do kind of these Hitchcockian moves where, we imply that, okay, before we reveal it's a dummy, it's like, oh God, it's another personality, it's another guy off screen, like, who is it? And you gotta, it's a clever little Hitchcockian kind of directing move there.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's building the mystery up really well. Ah, yes, Gotham Plastics. And there's that great shot with Hugo Strange right here. And I love this. Again, this is the guy who created Two-Face. And, Two-Face, he needs him to serve his ends here. And I don't know what horrible thing he did to Hugo Strange. Well, because he's screaming. Again, we're doing the horror, kind of the horror of Two-Face here off screen, which is kind of neat. Mm-hmm. And again, I love tying those characters together. It's like, Two-Face essentially, what's really cool about this take on Two-Face, reaching back to the origins of Two-Face, I'm assuming Bill Finger also had something to do with this, but famously Bob Kane, he claimed that he did Jekyll and Hyde for Two-Face. That was the main inspiration for it.
Sure, yeah.
And I think they embody a lot of Jekyll and Hyde in this movie from that original kind of inception for Two-Face, which I was impressed by.
And again, I think that's something the original show would have very much drawn from as well, because the original show was fond of, doing literary puns and whatnot.
And of course, here, Batman and Robin, they're at odds, and I love they're calling each other on. They're both right, or you're jealous of. Well, he doesn't just say he's jealous. He's basically your friendship with Dent's clouding your judgment. Your insecurity of Dent is clouding your judgment. Of course,
yeah, you're right. It's like they are both as right about each other as the other one is, which makes it a very well-written conflict.
Yeah, I love Alfred, of course, bearing milk and cookies coming up.
Yes.
And I love the Batcave design because we have the giant dinosaur, we have the old bats, the Bob Kane styled batsuit in the back there.
I've gone over it before, but the moment in Batman Begins, shortly after the parents' death, when Michael Caine, Alfred is, he comes in, he's like, I made you some supper, sir. I'm like, that was the moment where it's like, oh, that's a perfect Alfred.
And in case I didn't say before,
praise of food just always get to me.
I'm with you. That's always good. Actually, remember the animated series line of figures they're doing? They have a Batcave that comes with an Alfred with a serving tray.
Nice.
So, by the way, just because we kind of glazed over because we were talking about other things earlier, Julie Newmar, she still got it as Catwoman. Again, she still has her, she does the delivery. Again, she wrote the book on that character, and she's still she's representing that character so well in voice for Catwoman.
I mean, I would actually say she does slightly better in this movie than she did in Cape Crusaders. She's really You know, in turn, she sounds more youthful in this movie than Cape Crusaders, if that makes any sense.
That makes sense. And again, it's like she knows this. She knows this character, and I don't know. Maybe it's like it's kind of, this is more the typical Catwoman story, where in the other one it was kind of Catwoman getting everything she wanted, but realizing, nah, I don't like Batman like this.
Right, I can see that.
This is brilliant to me. I love this that we put her in there. We put the district, the other attorney in the. It's Lucille Diamond. Put the Lucille Diamond character in the Catwoman costume with the mask, and of course she didn't even have that mask on. But we give her the mask, so she looks exactly like the '66 movie Lee Merriweather Catwoman. It's a really great use of her, and this is this is how you do this is how you do innuendo. That's the classy way of doing innuendo. Batman and Harley Quinn, you could learn a lesson from this.
Oh God! Oh.
You see what I mean? Wouldn't you agree? This is like the classy way of how you do it.
She just makes Batman and Harley Quinn look like a distant nightmare.
I know, but I mean, she's admiring herself in the mirror, and again, I would absolutely agree with her assessment of that. By the way, how she looks, and again, it's a nice. It's a classy acknowledgement. Of course, all the stuff with Catwoman also is kind of clever innuendo. So that's how you do that, folks. Yeah, so Robin's going solo. No milk and cookies for Robin. He's being a bad boy. A bad boy wonder, in fact. Sorry, the line thing he says still cracks me up.
I love that line. It's just he just sounds so serious.
It's going up.
I'm sorry, we'll get to it.
But yeah, I love the initiative Robin's showing, and again, Burt Ward, he's getting more range for Robin because again, Robin knows he's right, and Batman's he's kind of doubting his mentor. It's kind of a first for Robin. He had to go up against his mentor in the Cape Crusaders. In this case, he's rebelling against his mentor, and he gets to play evil Robin, which is deep down it might suggest that Robin kind of is tired of being a square, and he would like to be kind of rebel himself deep down, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Wakey, wakey, bird boy. I love the line, Robin, the boy guinea pig. I don't know why. It's funny to me.
So yeah, I think in Cape Crusaders, Burt Ward's strength was mostly just delivering all the over the top kind of corny lines and whatnot as Robin. But as you said, in this movie, he very much gets to flex his muscles not only in the comedy bits with the evil Robin stuff, but also, as you said, in the he very much is at conflict with Batman, which is something that, I assume in the 60s show we didn't see very much of in terms of the character development there. It was mostly the same status quo, I want to say.
Yeah. I want to backtrack with Catwoman real quick. Just I want to say I love that we even used Hecate, her cat that is trained to help her escape.
Well, I must say it's a much better name than Isis.
Okay, come on, that was a time that wasn't their fault.
I'm sorry.
They didn't know what was going to happen years later.
That. It's just been so poorly timed.
Yeah. Also, Alfred's line about the whole basically Bruce kind of picking Harvey Dent over Catwoman. Friends before females. That's great. That's a great adult joke they worked in there.
Okay,
Friends
so I love how Batman is being so parental in this scene.
Yes.
Come on, old chum. I know you need to let off steam, but this isn't the right way. It's like he's so forgiving, you know what I mean?
I love his suggestions. Oh, Robin, this isn't the way you should let off steam. You should join a youth basketball league or take up model kit building. But, the arrogance of youth.
The arrogance of youth.
I'm sorry, we've been passing a couple things, but again, we're getting wrapped up in it, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously. Here's the famous. Yeah, now Tiki, I don't know if you're aware of this. This is a huge meme that they did right there.
Oh yeah. I'm very well aware of that meme. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest Batman memes. And that's why they put so much emphasis on the slap. And they did the framing. I'm really impressed by the framing and everything they did on that. That was.
I'm just glad that they didn't have Adam West say, "I'm the goddamn Batman."
Oh, yeah, thankfully. Yeah.
You know what would have been great is if Adam West said, "I'm the gosh dang Batman."
I don't know if it would have had the weight, but it would. I don't know.
I'm just saying, if they want to poke fun at the meme.
Oh, sure. My heart goes out to Batman here. The way he says, "I'm sorry about this, old chum," the way he lays out Robin, he doesn't want to do that in that fight.
Oh, yeah.
Again, there's another mini rant about DC animation. Is that's how you do a Batman and Robin? They're butting heads. This is how you do the Batman versus Robin. Not a stupid movie called Batman versus Robin. You have them actually going up against each other for an actual reason. Not just the whole "I'm rebelling against my father." That's dumb. Anyway. And of course, now this, by the way, what do you think about the Robin flipping him off?
I don't. It's
I'm surprised they got away with some. It's like friends before females and flipping them off, and of course the thing with the billiards later on.
I mean, I don't know, Dragon. To me, like the most charming these kind of movies get is when they stick very much in line with the censorship of the '60s, as I keep harping on about. So I'm not crazy about humor like that. I mean, it doesn't kill the movie or anything, but I'm not crazy about it.
I think when it's done in dialogue, it fits absolutely with kind of, Adam West kind of slipping in those takes, like the very last day he was able to slip in stuff that the censors couldn't cut out.
Right, yeah.
We do overt stuff like the finger, but again, it's obscure. But that's when it feels like we're kind of breaking that. Like it's not as clever as it is there, Mm-hmm. And I think the thing with the billiards,
it's like a little Gallivant or something.
Exactly. That's the right analogy right there. Yes. Let's see. So yeah, our plot's really moving along.
Just really quick aside, I love the bat holding cell.
Yeah, yes. Again, everything's labeled. We get the most ridiculous labels, not in the Batcave, but.
Right
later on. Now this novelty here.
I love the design of the club within the casino.
Yes, and of course this is a great homage to Bill Finger and Dick Sprang. And we now know Bill Finger had more of a hand in this, but Dick Sprang famously drew this. So we have the giant oversized props and set pieces thanks to Bill Finger and mainly Dick Sprang.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's kind of this is like stuff we could never get away with on the '60s show.
That PSA was right there.
Yes, the gambling PSA.
Oh yeah, right.
Gambling. Yeah, he almost looks the camera, and it cracks me up. Gambling is always
the camera.
Gambling is always a losing proposition.
I mean, that's like the closest we get to the crossing the street moment. But as I said, it's like there's more PSA nods like spread throughout the movie.
I love this giant. I love this giant pool table, and I love it as a death track. Because basically, they're like they're surrounded by Raiders of the Lost Ark boulders, essentially.
Exactly.
And one, that's just really cool, and secondly, again, this is something we can never get away with on the show because it would have cost like $1 billion to do all of those.
Imagine trying to stage that.
That's what I'm saying.
Ridiculous too.
I was saying giant props, period. I'm just saying doing giant props on that show. That's why we never got giant props. Like the closest thing we got are like the giant bat bomb. Those are the closest we ever got to that. It's like giant within
and like the oversized death traps.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We never could. Yeah, you're right about that. So that's the closest we got, but we never got like a whole set like that. Okay, now I gotta shed some light on this. Now, we'll get to a point down the line, but this is the most animated series of the whole thing right here. This whole the animated series adapted 2 issues from the Batman comics where Hugo Strange essentially auctioned off Batman's identity. He was holding an auction for Batman's identity, and the animated series did an even better episode. It was really way better than the comic, where this episode called "The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne," where Hugo Strange he finds out that Bruce is Batman, and he basically sends invitations to the Joker, Two-Face, and Penguin to bid for who Batman is.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that we're pulling from that. And we're doing it so well.
I gotta say, like, not to brag, but I do have, like, whenever I see Wally Wingert as Riddler, I have like, I talked to him on an online chat for a minute.
And remember, Tiki, I asked the big question. I asked him if he was going to be in the sequel, and he dodged me, implying yes that he was. And here we have proof.
Well, you asked him a far better question than I asked him. That's all I'll say about that.
But seriously, this is it's a really cool way to get our villains together for a very logical reason. They're all going to be bidding for Batman's identity, and these guys absolutely would do that. And it's kind of bringing the old, bringing the modern, basically melding stories in a logical way, and again keeping Hugo Strange in the mix, even though he's not really our main villain by any stretch.
So, do you think that this giant quarter is kind of an homage to the giant penny?
Tiki, yes, it is an homage to the giant.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, is an homage to the giant penny.
Right.
I'm sorry, I know too much about the giant penny. But the point is, yeah, I'm so glad that we if we're gonna do Two-Face, how do we not do an homage to the giant coin? We do have to do the giant. And it's there have been variations like how the death trap works. At this point, Batman's strapped to a giant coin. That's the death trap, and most of the time it's Batman and Robin strapped to the giant coin, which we do here. The animated series, we do a variation on it, so it's always great that we did. If we're doing so many hallmarks of Two-Face, how do we not do the giant coin?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And here's the sci-fi reveal of it all here, and again fits with Shatner when you think about it, sci-fi, and Shatner. But yeah, I was wowed by this. But again, I buy it. It actually adds a creepy dimension because you got to remember, Harvey Dent had to endure surgery to get the original layer of.
It kind of gives like Harvey Dent like a Cronenberg body horror element to him.
It does, and again, it feeds into the Jekyll and Hyde of it all, but at the same time adds that creepy level. Yeah, you had to get surgery to remove it, and it's still under the surface and come off, and it gets horrifying later on. We'll get there. Oh my god!
Oh yeah,
horrifying. But yeah, and we have the big reveal here again. It was right under our nose. It's obvious, but they sold you on it because you didn't know what was going on. They achieved the misdirect so well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I want to say this is the only time it's ever happened within the '60s show. If you count this month the '60s show, which certainly the only villain to ever find out who Batman is, Two-Face.
Sure.
No one has ever found out. We almost found out once with the whole, Mad Hatter trying to remove Batman's cowl. It's close we ever got to that with a pink irradiated cowl.
I assume it was probably like Gilligan's Island, where it's like, oh, they almost get off the island. Like, oh, they almost got his identity.
Yeah, and this is this is a huge thing for the '60s show to deal with.
Right. And of course, what better villain than Harvey Dent, who's like got the most personal connection to Batman? And
it makes sense. And I love that Two-Face he deduced it. He basically, and I love the logic of this because one people could say, some people could say, why is it so hard to believe? It doesn't kind of a buy that he finds out. But no, we play with the logic, the inherent logic of this show, where Batman is the most uplifting, morally upstanding citizen in Gotham, essentially, and he catches Bruce Wayne in a lie. He catches him in a lie, and that's how he figures out. And in this world, I can buy that.
Mm-hmm.
And catching a lie that, okay, if Batman doesn't do public appearances, and basically Bruce Wayne was supposed to show up here while you guys were fighting through here. Bruce Wayne never showed up. Proof in the pudding. Again,
which that very much is like, it kind of pokes fun at the whole like, hey, why does no one notice that Clark Kent disappears every time Superman shows up?
Yeah. And again, I like tying it to a lie. And again, Harley feels a little betrayed. How could you not tell me, Bruce? I'm your oldest friend.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. Here's Batman and Robin. It's like the most perilous death trap, the most peril-filled death trap they've been in a way. Because again, now someone has something over Batman, and he's about to be auctioned off. And again, it could be flung into a spiky death trap at any second. So one of the most deadly death traps they've been in.
Mm.
Short of the giant clam. Everyone remembers the giant clam.
Right.
And also, I remember you really were excited about this, Tika, the giant the giant telethon kind of '60s game show setting.
Oh yeah, it's done very well. It's a good excuse to get all the villains in one room, which of course I feel like that's one of the hallmarks of '60s Batman movies is you need a villain team up at some point.
Oh yeah, and again, in the third season when they tried getting them all together, they couldn't afford them all, so they had fake it with body doubles and making them all invisible. So it's great that we can do this. It's great that we can do this in animation. That was like the second to last episode, by the way. We're like, hey, we're bringing back all the bad guys, yay! But they're going to be invisible.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that sounds awful.
Yeah, but again, the dual motivation here, it gets him all in one place for this auction. But in reality, he's absorbing the evil essence to kind of, again, both Hugo Strange plots in the same scene, by the way, to make people into monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is kind of how the bidding famously goes, at least in Strange Secret, where they're going to pull their monies essentially.
It's such a good Joker move, it's like Joker basically breaks the system.
Yeah. And again, I love a Catwoman logically if she's going to try to outbid him so she can protect Batman and basically take ownership of Batman, which just makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. I forget if this is how it was done in the comic, how he got out of the coin death trap. But sometimes I think Robin was like on the other side of it, so it was like a lose-lose situation no matter where it fell. But either or. I mean, I like this how the logic of how Batman gets out. It's like, okay, we can't get free of this, but maybe we can tilt it to the side so it lands on its edge. I was like pumping my fist and I was like, yes, oh man, that's so
cool.
They shifted their weight at just the right second. And Catwoman kind of helps him in the rest of the way. This is great.
Also, I don't know if this was meant to be a gag, but I kind of got a chuckle out of Batman like over-explaining to Robin what to do in like such a time-sensitive situation.
Robin, listen to my precise instructions. Adam West actually is infusing a bit of Doc Brown as Batman performance because this movie he gets to say "Great Scott" more than he ever has before.
Right.
Yeah, Batman has said "Great Scott," but because it was a saying back in the day, But we got a lot of "Great Scott" and the whole like listen to my instructions, Marty. Explicit instructions, it's that sort of thing. But of course, here we got kind of a big old it's not like an army of Batmen versus an army of villains, but still it's
no, I mean nothing can top that. I mean, especially because you had the one evil Batman like doing the bat dance in the center of that whole fight.
Yeah. It's a shame we never could have gotten like all three Mr. Freezes. We had to pick one. I think they went with the it's not Otto Preminger. I can't remember. I know my favorite's George Sanders. Mine's the one.
Oh yeah, George Sanders all the way. Yeah.
Mine's the one in the spacesuit. That's my the one in the space freeze suit. That's the coolest one. And also that's Jeff Parker's favorite one, by the way. And we like it for the same reason, by the way. I love it for the whole. He had like the pleasantries. He had like the room with the cold room or with like the warm spotlights. It's such a cool thing. But anyway, I'm getting off track. So, Jim, we can never get all three Mr. Freeze like we got all three Catmen. So that would be. And I love this too. And I love the fingers crossed. The idea that Catwoman is willing to work with Batman. She's willing to be on Batman's team anytime, as so long as it doesn't interfere with her best interests, which is classic to Catwoman now, but again, back in the day, I wrote the book on it, where she'll, as long as she doesn't go back to jail, she'll do everything with Batman. But turn yourself into the nearest police station, Catwoman.
I love how Batman is naive enough to believe that she'd actually do that.
But Tiki, this is the thing I'm coming away with on the second watch, especially if not just the first watch, is generally how we feel about kind of the Adam West Batman. But I really like how uplifting and optimistic that is a view on Batman.
Right.
That Batman has faith in these guys that they'll be able to be rehabilitated, as we see, and that's the great thing about doing this movie. We get to see that with Harvey Dent, because usually in the '60s show, to my understanding, it was always we're always rehabilitating Catwoman, because that's the only one we really have to work with to rehabilitate here.
All right, so Dragon, I am in no way saying that this was like, this is purely a coincidence with this scene, but tell me this doesn't feel like the Rick and Morty sequence with the toxic, the world turning toxic.
It does, but I thought you were going to reference the Alice blood, because we're kind of doing another Hugo Strange kind of.
The Alice blood, and then also the Batman Begins fear talks, and it's a classic Batman thing. But
I'm just saying the Alice blood in terms of everyone was going. Well, yeah, they're.
I'm just saying in terms of delivery, especially with the nuns. The nuns start looting. Like that felt like it could have been a Rick and Morty pit.
Now, Tiki, that's fair, but you got to remember, nuns are always in Batman. Like, they always have nuns to the extent. Remember, like, the 60s movie, how, like, Batman was about to throw the bomb into a bunch of nuns. So, like, we have the nuns are there, their nuns are always there. So I can't necessarily put down Rick and Morty.
Well, look, I'm not saying Rick and Morty just because of the nuns. I'm just saying because of the timing of the gag.
Oh, by the way, I just want to acknowledge this, one of the great vehicles from the show. Oh, God, the Batcycle looks so good.
Also, I can't get over evil Chief O'Hara. It's amazing.
Yeah, there are two moments with all the Two Faces that really stuck out to me. So, Chief O'Hara just so evil. But the one I went oh no at was our Bill Dozier character. It's like, oh no, not Bill Dozier, no.
Right.
And we don't check back in with that guy. It was like, oh no.
So visually in this last scene with Two-Face, I love how they get the duality of him. You know what I mean? I love the shot with the one side of the face on the plane, then it turns upside down, and we see the Shatner side.
Yeah. Also, I love the novelty of Two-Face in a biplane. That's cool.
Right.
Now this I really got to applaud this because this, of course, being the big gadget aficionado I am, especially for Batman, we don't have the grappling gun in the 60s. We didn't have the grappling gun then, and all they have is bat rope. So I love this as a solution.
I love how they like barely get there.
Yeah, and again, it makes sense. They don't have a grappling gun. They can't just fire it from where they are. They have to eject, put the the jet boots on, and hope for the best. And that's what happens. That's what you would do to compensate for that, which is great. Oh,
okay. So speaking of 60s censorship, this is a scene that fascinated me.
Yeah.
Which was just the fact that, like, we've talked about, like, a lot of stuff that you couldn't get away with in the 60s.
Oh, yes, the guns.
Yeah, but, well, I'm saying, actually, I think in the 60s, like, I feel like that would be more acceptable in the 60s than it would be now, to tell you the truth.
Tiki, that's fair, but to my recollection, I'm pretty sure we had, like, guns in 60s Batman, but rarely could you, like, have guns and have your main villain. Because they had old rays and stuff. They never really had guns. Usually it was the henchmen, if anyone. That's the thing, because we all had so many fist fights. I don't really think we had guns all that much in 60s Batman, to be honest with you. But the fact that Two-Face not only has like dual guns, but he's pointing them in people's faces and he's firing them into real bullets. I mean, that's impressive to me, especially now. But I mean, it's still impressive. Then it feels like kind of a neat signature that Two-Face has over the other Batman villains. That he has dual guns that he shoots willy-nilly. And also, again, the Bat Shield, one of my absolute favorite Bat gadgets used, and I love how it collapses. Like, it collapses out, and oh my god, it's so cool. And it's kind of translucent like the original one. Like, oh, god,
Right.
Now, this is a huge moment here, and this, I gotta tell you, I get kind of this moment kind of gets me here, where Batman doesn't know he's coming out of this.
And this is like, it's one of those weird things with, the timing of Adam West passing,
Yeah.
Like, this could very well be Batman and Robin's last scene together, if things didn't go right.
Yeah, I mean, just this whole, I love that Batman thinking this might be his final moment, because now Batman's, he saved Gotham, and he has the means to save Gotham many times, but, he's going to, he's going to risk himself, purely himself, for his friend to save Harvey. He's not going to risk Robin. He makes sure that Robin knows. If this is his last one, he wants to make sure Robin knows, I wouldn't want to do this to anyone else, old chum. I trust you implicitly. Now get out of here, and that's an order. Again, that's so moving. That's so nice. And this is like, it started kind of with
it kind of puts a nice wrap on the whole like parental arc of Batman in this movie.
It does, and now we have kind of the horrifying showdown between Two-Face and Batman. It's so great, and oh god,
just stylistically, one of the best choices in this whole movie is not having the onomatopoeia bubbles in this fight.
Yeah, and
that was brilliant.
This creeped me out, and I just love how horrifying.
But I love how Lou Ferrigno-esque it is. It's literally just looks like him painted green.
Well, sure, yeah, but also, I mean, I wanted to point out that he just killed Harvey Dent. At least he tried to kill Harvey Dent just now. He tried strangling himself, and again, that should be ridiculous and silly.
Oh yeah, you're right. That element of it is it's very disturbing.
It's so Jekyll Hyde right there, where he strangles himself and he gains full control. That's the body horror. He overtakes, and then we get, we get just and. Again, like, you fantasize about this sometimes, that whole, like, what would Two-Face look like if, he was taken over? And, like, I've imagined that, Tiki, but I've never seen it ever in Batman. No, I'm sorry, we've only seen it once in Batman, at least mainly once. Dark Knight Returns. Again, we're pulling so much from Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
Like that little brief bit of, like, Harvey both sides match. And it's horrifying to see it actually realized, not just like a psychological thing here. It's like, oh, God. And the fights, again, we take out the onomatopoeia. The Batman's being blasted again. Like, basically what they're doing in this fight, they're reliving the origin of Two-Face over and over again. He's kind of facing that. He's facing that evil extracted kind of coded Two-Face, and he's being blown away from him every second with all these exploding things. And while we don't have the onomatopoeia, we do have these ridiculous over the top signs saying "could blow at any minute."
Yeah, right.
And I love this as a solution here that Batman he worked. We've had coin variations of how Batman has defeated Two-Face
This
before.
is like almost like a Dormammu I've come to bargain type, like get out.
Yeah, and again, Batman's had like cool coin tricks to defeat Two-Face before. I don't think we've ever had a blank coin, which I think is interesting. Like basically saying now the choice is yours, Harvey. You know, make the choice. That's kind of a neat visual representation of hey, it's a blank coin. And again, I love Batman's faith in Harvey Dent. It works, and again, that's saying that hey, this optimistic Batman, it's not the worst thing in the world, folks. And, you know, again, it's something to respect that Batman had implicit faith in Harvey, and even after Harvey betrayed him, even after again Harvey admittedly, Bruce, I'm sorry I let you down. I felt second fiddle being like a lower tier DA. I complicitly worked with Two-Face to my shame, and Batman still had faith in him. That's really nice. And look at all the pain. And again, with the Pal, Bat, Zam, and Whams all gone, Batman has taken such a harsh beating in this. He's being blown up. He's being hit. He almost is impaled. It's again, Batman goes through the ringer emotionally and physically in this.
Yeah, and like I said, in terms of like the tone, it is very much you know, it gets away from like the goofy campiness, at least in this this last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah. And also it kind of embodies kind of that great appeal of it's kind of the other side of the 60s show where again the kids were invested in, the adults were, you know, entertained by it, and while we've been entertained by it, we're investing in it even, you know, years later.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this. And I buy this. And I like that we don't do a Spider-Man 3 with the amnesia here. I'm sold in the amnesia.
Oh, I am so glad we don't pull at Spider-Man 3.
But no, seriously, the amnesia here, I think, I like that it's grounded in a bit of pseudoscience because, you know, he just, all that, you know, switching between Two-Face and Harvey Dent, it's going to take a toll on you. And again, he supposedly buried all of that deep down. So there's going to be kind of a psychological kind of ramification for that. So yeah, it kind of makes sense.
I love the ambiguity of it, and I also think that again, Dragon, with the sequel talk, it does set itself up pretty well for a sequel with Two-Face.
Yeah. I like that Batman, even though he won this like a classic Batman move, switching the coins, he says, "To my shame, I cheated." You know, he feels bad about it. He feels bad about cheating. I mean, he did it, but he feels bad about it. it's for a great. Yeah, but again, that whole scene, just that whole Batman Two-Face climax, it was a great part of this film, and it was such a well executed sequence, really intense. Just want to kind of get that, make sure we got that there.
Oh yeah.
And here again, now this to me is kind of funny here. Basically, we're really intensely curing the city here. We're bombing, we're bombing Gotham for cure. But still, and Robin here again. This is what's fueling the Robin as Two-Face, like kind of wanting to break
almost
rules.
Feels like something out of like 80s G.I. Joe or something like that.
Because Robin's having too good a time curing these people with machine guns, essentially.
Oh God!
And to me, Tiki, I don't think it's intentional, but I would like to think that that's their little bar, but Batman v Superman with like the guns on the Batmobile and stuff. Like, you know, we're not killing anyone, but we're doing it really unnecessarily harshly. Oh, but this moment here kind of gets me with Jim Gordon right here. The comedy moment before was when O'Hara was basically bombing in Gordon, and just Gordon like ugh. But this moment here, this shot here, honestly, I would love to have this shot. Just just Gordon in front of the bat signal, and just saying you can always count on Batman. Like that fills me. And Batman saluting Jim, and that's so uplifting to me. It's like, yeah, that's really nice. And it's Gordon with the mustache. Like that's a nice bow on the 60s show for me right there. It's like, yeah, Batman is always there. You can always count on him. We got a bat signal behind him. O'Hara's tied up, not getting in the mischief. It's really nice. And again, like Cape Crusaders, we have a similar ending, but it's, you know, again, I think there's more finality with Cape Crusaders than this.
I mean, like I said, this definitely it feels more like they're kind of trying to set up a third movie, ironically.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I buy that he actually has amnesia, but you're right. There's absolutely, I mean, there's definitely that.
It's less setting up a third movie, Dragon. It's more kind of like in the spirit of like the 60s Batman stuff. It's more like, okay, if we want to use Two-Face again, this is how we would do it. You know what I mean? It's more like writing another arc for Two-Face in the context of the show, which is really clever, I think.
You know what I I got from this, really just assuming the amnesia works, though, I really love the message. The message is, it's really hopeful message. It's really uplifting that, things can work out for Batman once in a while. Usually things don't work out for Batman. Usually he's out or Robin. Like, all of his stuff gets destroyed. Gotham's on fire. That's usually Batman's, like, best case scenario. But I mean, I love that for a change. And that's what this whole ending's about to me. Even like up to the very last moment here, it really feels like a nice message that, you know what, Batman, for all the faith that he had in his friend, for the fact that Batman, again, it's hitting on that thing that really gets me about Batman. One of the reasons I love the guy, he doesn't give up.
Yeah.
He didn't give up on Harvey Dent. He went through all this stuff, and things worked out for him. There was a happy ending. Harvey has amnesia, and Batman gets the girl in the end with Catwoman, and that's why we get that really justified blush at the end of this movie.
It's honestly, like, that blush is kind of like the perfect note to end out on.
Yeah. Also, I like the Holy Hugh Hefner.
It's heartfelt. It goes with the character.
Yeah, I mean, I think it ended on the perfect note. One, with the Holy Hugh Hefner of it all, which, of course, it's a great reference to a figure from the '60s, but also it's also kind of a nice little, like, Hugh Hefner also passed away this year. It's kind of a nice little last, kind of like, hey, here's an icon of the '60s, and of course, we don't really have Catwoman without kind of the idea of a Playboy bunny in a way. But again, ending on that blush of Batman, things worked out for him, and like, Batman, take a bow. Essentially, it's like, hey, we're gonna treat Batman.
Right.
I don't think the dancing here is as good as it was with.
The problem with it is that they just repeat the cycles over and over throughout the credits. It gets repetitive.
That, and I hate like the zoom in, zoom out thing we're doing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that bugs me. Like, I'll take the cycles aren't bad, but I mean, like, especially when they're all like in like kind of the Scooby Doo pose, have like all these colored boxes, and like I love when we go in and out with the symbols. Like, we just see like the bat symbol, the Robin symbol, mask, and stuff. Like, those look great to me. And we have a really, you'll see at the end, you can tell me if I'm crazy with this, but there's actually a moment where I think that plays so well, because for a moment, it's kind of magical almost. There's a moment where the last box that we see, the red, where Batman's box, he's dancing in his dance cycle, and it's red. I think a part of me would like to think they did that because it looks, this sounds silly for this, looks like a live action thing of Adam West dancing as Batman.
Wait, okay, so how does it explain this
one?
Basically
all the boxes will disappear and it will fade to black for a moment. The last box you see, I think it's just me. I really do. I think it's just like I'm just saying. I think that's kind of what it feels like. I don't know. I think it's just because we get misty towards the end. That's what I kind of think it.
I'll take a look out for it.
Yeah. I think these dance cycles are better when they're paired together too, because the ending of Cape Crusaders was Batman and Catwoman had a really cool dance cycle, and they were paired together, and it ended with them. They had more of a payoff with that. And like right here, like this, I would have liked this right here, where they're kind of dancing like this, or pair them up with a little more interaction, I guess. But
yeah.
This kind of implies that, okay, so they went on their date and they're dancing, they're having a good time dancing.
Right.
So that's this feels kind of random, and like, hey, like all the characters, we could have gotten more like the villains dancing.
I will say my favorite dance cycle is probably Alfred's, though.
Why does Alfred have the ape?
My least favorite is definitely Aunt Harriet.
Yeah, it's the fact that Aunt Harriet's paired with two. She got what she wanted to.
Right. Oh, God.
Okay, I think it's here. It's at the bottom here.
Okay, I'm gonna look for it.
This one, it's going to turn red, and that'll be the ending. Like, it looks like live action here.
Yeah, I can see it, Dragon. I can see it. I know. Yeah. I don't think you're crazy with that, man. I really don't.
I mean, there are gifs of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
There it is, folks. Just
that's a good goal. All right.
Well,
so yes, of course, we end out. What's the exact wording on it, Dragon?
In loving memory of Adam West, rest well, bright night.
Yeah, that got to me. That stabbed me right in the feels.
Yeah, because again, I was wondering while I was watching, where's the tribute to Adam West?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt they were going to pull.
I know. I mean, I was wondering. Okay, I mean, I figured out they're going to like save it for the end, but I was like wondering in the beginning, like, well, where is it as it's going on? Like, I'm expecting it, but I'm just like, I know I'm going to get emotional over it. But it's like when it got there at the end, I was just like, it's like I just felt that's right. You know, it's like
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
right thing. It gets
All
me.
right, so just to cap off my thoughts, Dragon, I think this is a very entertaining movie. As I said, I think the most interesting thing about this is just sort of like the hypothetical what if of it all. You know, kind of like in my mind's eye, trying to envision how they would have done it in the actual show, how it would have been visualized. Because the Shatner of it all is really fascinating. The fact that he fits the time period like a glove, and he's just channeling his '60s persona so well. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, this is always just going to be like the last Batman movie. You know what I mean? Like the last Adam West movie. It's going to always have that cloud over it. So I think for what it is, it's really good. It's a very proper send off, and as the film says, rest well, bright night. Final thoughts, Dragon.
I'm going to need a minute for this because oh boy, it's
Of course, go ahead.
But on this again, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this movie. It did live up to my hype. Again, like the only thing it has, I guess. Again, they're very. It's like it's comparing different things because you have the movie and you have the kind of the TV show vibe, and they're both very good, both equally different. I mean, they're both equally good, but they're both different, which is why it's kind of hard to compare them. The only thing I guess this has less than Crusaders. Then we have like a few like kind of missed opportunities, and there are small missed opportunities. Like again, like the thing with Harley Quinn. Again, you're splitting hairs. So I mean, it's splitting hair type stuff, which does not take anything away one iota from this great piece. And it's so great to see you, Shatner, and Shatner realized this Two-Face, and it just felt like a great long lost chapter of Batman realized, and it's very. I find it very rewatchable. I mean, it's rewatchable, but I'll say this though, I don't think it's as rewatchable as Cape Crusaders. But again,
I don't think so either.
It's a great double feature though, and no pun intended with two. Well, okay, a little pun intended with two, but it's a great double feature. It really is.
Yeah.
So, folks, just to put it in context here, because again, this is the final goodbye. It really is. It's the final goodbye on so many levels. These two films finally gave Adam West the chance to stretch himself, not only as an actor, but also relive his youth in a way. Basically, relive kind of the height of his fame, height of his power in a way. Bringing this. Sorry, I'm just trying to. You gotta remember, Adam West, he brought the idea of the '60s Batman series to life, and with these movies, we got to bring that to life again. We got to bring it to life again. And Batman came to life because a number of talented writers, directors, composers, and this project as well. I mean, I'm sorry, I meant this project. So these animated films that came together not only because the talented writers, directors, and composers. Burt, Ward, and Julie Newmar, the whole team assembled. I mean, there's many elements why this works. Adam West, of course, is the key element who kind of got it started back in the day with Bill Dozier and Lorenzo Semple Jr. I mean, he's got all the old crew back together on this one. And what's so nice is that he's hooking a new generation. These movies are hooking a new generation of fans on Batman, on this version of Batman once again. Adam West lived the Dark Knight Returns experience in that regard, that he was able to kind of recapture, the fame and the acclaim, but also kind of relive his youth, kind of go on a journey that encapsulates what he lived Batman's experience with Dark Knight Returns in his old age, and that's amazing. And we got two stories we could have never had gotten then. Another '66 film in a lost episode, essentially, that took Batman, a Batman that we thought we'd seen it all with the '60s show. We thought we'd seen it all with that show, and it took us back to school on that in so many regards. It showed us new levels of stuff we can do with that. How can we apply new Batman to old Batman, create something new and fantastic? We should always be grateful to, again, Adam West, Bill Dozier, Lorenzo Semple Jr., all the people involved in the original show. We should never take them for granted. And we should always remember Burt Ward, Julie Newmar, everyone there. I mean, I said this on the passing of Adam West, but I'll say it again. Unfortunately, I never met Adam West, but I know one thing. I know what I would always say to him. I'd always say, if I ever met him, I knew I was gonna profusely thank him for saving Batman, because, folks, back in the day, before the show, again, Adam West and Bill Dozier, they made the show. Basically, Bill Dozier had an idea of like, let's do a Batman show, unlike, let's not play it straight, let's exaggerate it. And that's all they really had. Let's exaggerate. Lorenzo Semple had a few gags in that first episode. Adam West loved the first episode, and then he kind of wrote the book on how to really elevate this material, he crafted the character of Batman. That's how that trio really worked. And Batman almost was canceled in the 50s. During the Frederick Worth of it all, Batman's books were selling terribly. Batman was going to get canceled. If not for the 60s show, Batman would not be around today. So that's why I would always, if I'd ever met Adam West, I would have thanked him for saving Batman. He saved my favorite fictional character. Without Adam West, we don't have the animated series. We don't have anything. That character would have been gone. And I've written my fair share. Thank you to people I admire, and Adam West would have been that personal kind of thing. And I love that it's still touching to me that even from beyond the grave, Adam West is still honoring that character that he saved. He's still honoring Batman from beyond the grave with this film being released posthumously, making him a legend in his own right. That to me is that's why you got to bow to the master on Adam West right there. This is a guy who's still honoring characters beyond the grave, still being a great actor even now. So he's always going to be a great actor, folks. So holy legacy, Batman. That's my thoughts on Batman versus Two-Face.
All right, folks. Well, that'll do it. Well said, Dragon. Well said. So the next time we talk about Batman will, of course, be besides something we're playing for Haunted Holiday Hijinks, but we'll keep that wrapped in mystery. But next time we talk about Batman on Main Street Cinema is going to be with Justice League, Dragon. And honestly, with the way that Zack Snyder portrayed Batman in Batman versus Superman, we'll see how it holds up. But I don't think Adam West Batman would be very happy with that take on Batman. And I think Adam West might have a few choice words to Zack Snyder. You know what those few choice words would be, Dragon?
I think I do, but why don't you tell the folks?
The arrogance of you. Have a good night, everyone.